Okay, hard bone targets, part two. Okay, so we know the angle of the strike, very important angle to look at. When you're hitting here, okay, you can hit with the blade of your hand, okay? You can hit here even. With this to here, you can actually really have an effect like that. And you don't need, again, you don't have a lot of force you can use with this, but you don't need a lot of force. You can also, depending on how conditioned your hands are, you can hit with this or this to this. And that's actually considered in by many Chinese medical systems to be a deadly strike. Um, it goes right to where your skull forms, okay? Coming down this way, okay? To the base of the skull, okay? The chop that you all see, okay? It's very effective for that, okay? Um, where else with the skull? When you hit to the side, okay? When you're striking with a shuto, okay, then you whip the skull. That knockout is when you come here, is to let the head whip. Okay, different, entirely different concept, but you're smacking it so that this whips around, and that whiplash causes the brain to discombobulate. Okay, in the brain casing. So that is a whipping movement. Wham. Okay, and that's to the side. Okay, again, try to catch it right on the ridge. That's your most direct target because this is the theory, bone to bone. Okay, this all protects. It takes force away because the flesh takes energy and redistributes it. Okay, when you hit directly on the bone, it goes straight into the target, and it also allows you to break the bone. Okay, now hitting with this, you can also hit anywhere in the neck or throat. Okay, so that's a given. Hitting up here, okay, just with a basic shoot. There's a lot of different ways to do that, though. Okay, this is what's not so known. You can hit with the side, but the better your hand's conditioned, the more you want to try to use the bone. Okay, the bone here, okay, gives you a much more hit where your energy transfers much more efficiently. Okay, again, it's a matter of judgment. If you're really winding up and doing a very hard strike, there's nothing wrong with using some of the padded part of your hand. But if you're doing something short and quick, or if you have very well conditioned hands that you've worked on for many years, um, the bone will give you the most power when you're hitting those targets. Okay, anywhere on the jawline will give you that power. Okay, because it's directly hitting a bone target. Okay, to the sides you have your clavicle. Okay, that is a break, and again you can do that with your um, arm. Okay, you can do that with your chop. This is like a billy club in a way. The clavicle can break pretty easily. It does not take a lot of pressure per square inch. Okay, again though, if you hit the clavicle with a hammer fist, for example, a lot of that gets redistributed back into the flesh. Okay, if you want to really break it, this, or if you're using a chopping movement, or buttress your chop. We do this a lot, and the Bushinkan does this. Use your shuto like this, okay? That gives you reinforcement and allows you at that point to hit with a little bit more power. And again, this or this depends on how conditioned your hands are. That's to the clavicle, okay? And that is just as you might imagine. You want to try to get your weight over the target as much as possible when you strike it, okay? Um, the arms are just a whole bunch of targets. This area, okay? You can hit this with a what's called a nagash, okay? Making a circular movement, or upwards, coming straight up and into the target, okay? Very effective to hit here, okay? Under the elbow here, very effective to hit. These are both points that create a short circuit in the body electrically, chemoelectrically, okay? It's like you get a shock when you're hit there. And the bones are also very sensitive because there's a lot of nerves in those areas, okay? So those are both targets. If you look at the structure of the arm, you actually have a little spot here, and you can almost feel that's a little tender. This is the spot where your bone is closest to your skin, okay? This all is flesh, but if you hit that bone, some people can do a horseshoe if they're weightlifters, if they have good muscle tone. But these areas where the muscle striates here, any area or where you can feel where the muscles closer to the bone, those are all targets for strikes because less flesh and water in the flesh to redistribute the energy from the strike, okay? Remember these principles, and you'll see you can hit almost anything properly. Your ribs, same idea, okay? The xiphoid process, it takes 30 pounds of pressure per square inch to break that little hooking bone that comes off of your rib cage in front, called the xiphoid process. And you can strike that. Again, same principle. Can you do it with one knuckle? You're going to get much more force per square inch. You can even do that as a koshi with a fingertip or a thumb, okay? But you can use your whole fist. You can use a palm, okay? You can even use your elbow. Your elbow can do any of these strikes. Your elbow heading up, obviously. But that target will wreck somebody. In addition to the solar plexus, which does not have a lot of protection. Okay, you can feel where your xiphoid bone is. Okay, your chest plate, that's very easy to break. Same as with the clavicle. Okay, with a proper strike. Okay, again, using as much a small area as you can, depending on your level of conditioning with your hands. Okay, so we did the ribs. Your knees, obviously, same principles apply. Striking the kneecap below, just below, okay? You can feel on your leg where your kneecap ends and where your leg kind of comes into it, all right? Behind your kneecap and your calf muscle, those are targets that can be hit downwards and attacked. When you kick, there are a lot of different ways to kick. I would recommend that you look at my video about generating force with kicks, but find the kick that you can generate force with. That's how you want to attack that area in the legs. Now, with your legs, I'm going to give you a nice little bonus point here. All right. If you go right about, let me see if I can do this and be decent. I guess I can, okay. All right, right here, okay? Feel on your body, you'll feel this little area here. And you'll feel that it feels like there's a little spot there, okay? Right about midline, just down from my hip bone by about maybe 3 or 4 inches, okay? And this area is sometimes, I forget the name of it, but you hit there with anything like a Charlie horse movement, like if you hit here, you will drop a person. They will think that their leg has been broken, okay? It's not dangerous, but it feels like somebody has broken your leg, okay? So you will be able to find that. If you practice with somebody, you'll know when you hit it. It'll be very obvious. All I can tell you is don't get scared. You're going to drop to the ground probably, and you're going to swear that your leg has been broken, but 10, 20 seconds later, you'll be fine, okay? That's actually a good point that way. It's not lethal. On the inside of your leg, most of those strikes to the inside, I prefer, except right where the knee joint is, to use koshi because there's very sensitive skin there, okay? If you're just using a kick, just use brute force. Kick through the object there. But there's nothing really that presents in particular that I would point out, okay? You can break the ankle with a stomp kick by kicking on top of the ankle. Beans. That's another one with a kick. Be good. It's okay. Um, as far as the back goes, striking to the kidney areas, striking to the very back where the coccyx bone ends, to the sides of that, those are all considered deadly strikes. Um, those are strikes if you have good form on your Koppo, and if you manage to put your weight in the right position when you're striking them, they can be very good. They can be very dangerous if you need them to be. Uh, if you're not that skilled or trained, it's hard to hit them properly. Um, if you notice, boxers get who are very good, they learn how to do a liver shot. Okay, that is to your right side. Okay, of your body, and your liver is right about here, just above your stomach, and doing that with a punch with a slightly downwards angle is very effective for hitting the liver with a Koppo strike. Okay, when you hit, like if you're hitting at bone or something, bone to bone, your angle becomes very important. Okay, try to attack the bone target. Okay, if you're not going straight in at a 90 degree, at a 45 degree. Okay, um, it gives you the best. A 90 degree gives you the best force. Okay, perpendicular. Okay, a 45 is a better kind of positioning for, in my opinion, for a koshi, for something where you want to make a circular movement. Okay, and strike a softer target. Okay, if you're coming straight up to attack the arm or something like that, you're much better off coming up sort of at your hand, your strike position at a 90. When you're angling your body, that you can always try to set up between a 45 and a 90 degree angle. Use your footwork to keep track of where you're moving and only make your angle in a controlled way so you can control the movement of your opponent. Okay, again, depending on how long you've been training, for the first 10 years or so, people learn how to just take a good angle. But as you get better, once you control the footwork, you control the distance, and as the developing situation is happening, then you take the angle. It's a lot more deceptive and a lot more effective. And that figures into Koppo also, because a lot of times you want to be putting your weight down on your strike. As far as the way to do those strikes, again, look at some of the basics that I have on the channel about hitting. Okay, and it transfers to almost any particular style of hitting, because there is no real way to punch, and it doesn't hurt anybody to understand that if I'm at this range, maybe a boxing punch might work for me. Okay, even if I'm not a boxer. All right, just knowing about it, or if I'm fighting a boxer, knowing what they're going to do is helpful. So learn all the ways of hitting, but you will see dynamics that play into very particularly the way to hit properly in a system of Koppo Jutsu. Okay, and basically it has to do with your weight distribution and your timing, hitting in total synchronicity. Your foot, your blow, and your weight all land at the same time. And again, look on the channel. There's plenty of videos about that to teach you how to do that. Okay? Okay. We'll do a conclusion for the next video for the series.